So what I want to do when I'm doing pencil shading is I'm going to blow up what it looks like. I'm doing a big random scribble. And the reason we want to do that is we want to avoid the problem when people color like this and then like this. And there's just always this overlap problem. And it just looks messy and amateurish, and we don't have much control of it. And if, worse yet, some people like pencil crayon, they make it really waxy looking, and then they do this. And then they try to keep going. And it compounds the problem. And then you get some parts where the wax is really built up and it's resisting color, and some areas where it's uneven and it's hard to get it to be even. And once you get too much wax on there, you can't add another color. If you want to do some blending or something like that. So we want to avoid that. So a way to avoid it is to use a method that applies the color in this really smooth way and a random way where there's no sort of overlap marks, so that you can keep moving across. So this idea of random scribbles allows you to build up tone smoothly without uncomfortable sort of overlap areas, provided you're random enough. If you were drawing ovals like this in a row, and then you did another oval in a row, you're going to have an overlap problem just the same as you had with that method. So you want your ovals to be round-ish, not too squished, and definitely move in a circular sort of random pattern. I had a friend who drew figure 8 shapes, little infinity marks, as her way to move randomly around the page. And she allowed to see some of the little, and she did it small, like tiny little figure 8s, and interlaced different colors on top of each other. And it was really quite pretty. But she was a fine artist too. But you can develop whatever style you want, right, as an illustrator as well. So the bonus of doing this is I want to be able to blend colors as an illustrator, right? So what I'm doing, I'm having open scribbly loops, and I want to blend into that. So I've left more open, dissipating away on either side of the violet, and now I'm going to layer on top of that a blue violet into that transition area. And just doing a random scribble shape, and I'm leaving it kind of open and lacy so I can get a nice blend of colors. And where I want it to be just blue, I'm going to put a few more layers. And where I want it to blend into another color, I'm going to leave it a little more open. And so I'm going to blend into that. Into the violet, I'm going to blend in some magenta in the lacy area here. And I get sort of a shimmery look of those interlacing marks. It's very smooth. I don't end up having a problem with uneven overlap or too much wax buildup. As the wax gets too slippery, and then you can't blend on top of it. And I want to be random so that the color goes on smoothly. I don't end up with bad sort of overlap or uneven shading the way if I shade like this, I end up always with an overlap problem here. So and it looks kind of messy, and I don't have good control, particularly if I push hard and it gets all waxy. Then it's hard to blend into that. And if I want to add another color on top of it, like the violet maybe, it doesn't want to stick very well. It gets all slippery. It's okay, but it's not as good, and it gets uneven. So I can blend better by coloring very softly, and I don't have messy scribbly overlap marks if I work with a random circular motion. and then I can blend into the next color. So here I'm taking a peach color now and blending into the magenta. I got a nice gradation going around the spectrum, nice and smooth and no problem to create that blend. And then I could blend in another color. Maybe we'll make it go really dark blue at the other end. So now I've got an indigo blue blending into the previous more royal blue that I had. Now if you like that soft and interlaced look and you just want to leave it like that, that's fine. But you can also bring up the color even more strongly. Like if you like that really waxy, intense look, you can get the same effect, which was done over here, with adding a colorless blender stick. This is just the wax. And so what I'll do is I'll just rub over it with the clear wax, and then it just brings up the color really bright. And what's great about this is you get that super intense look that pencil crayon can be really nice for, but you have the ability to control the blend from light to dark or shifting from one color into another color. And I'm just scribbling that on in circles as well. And you see how bright the color comes up and blends it, but you still sort of see some of that interlacing kind of shimmery effect. So it's really beautiful. And you can even use clear blender sticks from markers, which are alcohol based, that will do your blending for you. All right, so another technique for using pencil crayon is to change the hold we have on the pencil. So in one of the ways we can do that is to hold the pencil either upright or increasingly down the shaft of the pencil. So, and the reason I want to do that is to be able to shift from dark to light values. So I have a really sharp point here, and I want it sharp so that I can really fill in all the texture of the paper. Now my paper has what we call a tooth, a little bit of a texture. And if we were to blow that up and look at a cross section, it might look wiggly like that, and the top surface of the paper is there. Now if I want to make a textured effect like what we see right here, I want to deposit bits of color just on the top of that texture. And I don't want to have any color down in the low parts of the paper. I want to leave little white bits. So maybe I want to do a woolen sweater that I want to have it look fuzzy like that, or any other sort of soft fuzzy texture. Then I'm going to want to hold my pencil in such a way that it deposits color just on the top surface of the texture of the paper. So to do that, hold your pencil flat sideways like that, and you can see I've got a really long sharp point on this pencil, and I did that by using an electric pencil sharpener that gives me a really nice long point with an auto stop feature. So you want to find yourself that it's so much better. You get a longer point and it doesn't crack off your lead. So it's so great. So you want to look for a good brand that will do that for you. So for texture, I'm going to hold the side of my pencil against the page. And you can still do little circles. And it just picks up the texture of the whatever paper you're using. Now, what if I don't want something to look fuzzy? I want it to look really polished and crisp. An example might be, maybe I want to draw a cat portrait. And I want the cat's eyes to look really shiny. and I want the cat's fur on their face to look really soft. I might want to do this. Or maybe I want to do a baby portrait and I want a smooth look on the face that's soft and skin-like in its texture, but I want the eyes to look really shiny. So a method that I would want to use then is to hold the pencil, to have a really sharp pencil first thing. Hold the pencil near the tip and hold it really vertically. So what I'm going to do then is start at one side and make really little ovals with the point of my pencil so that we can get right into the low parts of the paper. I'm going to show you what that looks like. And we're going to look at it from a different angle too, so that you can see what that looks like. So that this way we can create shiny, smooth things and we can get good, strong dark. So I'm not really pushing very hard. I'm just going in really little circles with a sharp point so it gets down into the low parts of the paper. So that's what it looks like. And what it's doing is coloring into the low parts of the paper here, right? So the whole thing is covered rather than just the surface. So let's look at that at another angle, and then we're going to continue coloring and shading away here to range from both dark and smooth and shiny looking through to softer and softer or lighter and lighter. Now I want to make it look less shiny, or also at the same time I can change from dark to light in this way, because of course if there's little white spots coming through, it's going to give me a lighter value. So this can be done for shiny things, or just for I want it to be really dark, and so I can't have little dots because it's not going to look dark if there's little white dots. So what I'm going to do as I move along this transition strip of going from dark to increasingly lighter, creating a gradation, I'm going to change the grip on my pencil. So I started like this, held upright, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to back up a little bit and put a little bit more of an angle on my pencil. I'm going to put a little bit more of an angle on my pencil and continue shading with the same little circular ovals, slightly bigger though than what I was doing when I wanted it really dark. I'm not pushing hard, always just depositing color on the surface of the paper. Then I want to keep it getting lighter and lighter. So what I'm going to do is walk my fingers back a little bit more. And what that does is it puts less pressure from the weight of my hand on the pencil. The other thing it does is the pencil's not quite as sharp, and the pencil is not, because it's on a slight angle, the pencil can't get down into the low parts of the paper the way it can when it's vertical. So I have a little bit more white paper showing. So as I go along, I'm going to keep walking back another centimeter or another inch further back every time I want to go to a lighter and lighter tone. And what this does is it just puts less and less pressure of my hand on the pencil so I can get a lighter and lighter tone. And then finally way at the back of the pencil, and I'm hardly touching just the tiniest bit of weight from the pencil is on the paper, and I can get such a light value this way, but still a fine texture. So I'm still using the point, so it's not the same as this more textured part. So I get a really nice slow blend there like this. This is the example of just pencil crayon, right? Let's see if I can fix that better. So that's the technique we learned with the little ovals. And we used blue and pink and maid violet And so on the shade side, add black underneath first. On the main lit side, use just the straight color. So the blue and the magenta, so we made violet. And on top, we had blue and magenta, very lightly applied, and then blended with white pencil crayon. So instead of using clear wax. And then if I want to make that color stronger, I apply the clear wax on top of it, which it looks like it is because the color is very intense. So, so that what you want to do is create an underdrawing first of either black or blues and violets or browns, whatever sort of appropriate to the subject or what style you like. So main color faces, just straight color. And then on the upper faces or wherever you get a lot of light on it, holding your pencil at the end, right? Like we were learning to apply really little pressure, you're going to hold your pencil like this, way at the end of it. I'm just going to zoom out a bit there to see that. So you're going to be coloring like that, really lightly. Plus the white on top to get it to be a little bit brighter. And here you might hold your pencil sort of a medium where you want to get a really crisp, high contrast. You'd hold your pencil more upright. Nice sharp point so you can have good, neat control. Another method, which I think you guys have come across before, is to use a colored paper. And that eliminates a lot of having to have the base layer. When you're working on white, it takes more work. So start with a dark color, and what that allows you to do is just put a little bit of pastel or chalk pastel, or a little bit of pastel and a little bit of pencil crayon. Now this one's just pencil crayon, but if you want to get a quick kind of coloring, you could put a bit of pastel for your mid values or your darks, and then just add some detail of highlights and darks with your pencil crayons or chalk pastel pencils. So this is a very fast way. The problem with it is oftentimes you can't see through that darker paper on a light table, which means you have to either draw directly or transfer your drawing, which adds more time to creating an illustration, but you save time in the rendering. So it really depends on the job, right? Like you found, certainly you did your fish on dark blue versus on white, and of course the one on dark blue looks stronger, right? And so it can save a lot of time in the rendering, even though there's an extra step of transfer of the drawing. But it depends. If you don't need a good black outline and you just want to have the image, because either way you still have to do a rough and trace over it with line, right? So what you're doing instead is coloring on the back, taping down your drawing, transferring with pencil, and then render, and then you're just adding highlights and darks rather than an outline. So it really depends on your style you develop and what you're after, but this can be a really fast way with much less time. You see how that creates a good image with way less effort than this rendering of the cube with pencil crayon.